Do you know that feeling when you have so many options that you don't know what to choose? In organizations, we rarely run short of ideas. Take any random 100-employee business, and I'm sure there's at least 1,000 ideas on what could be improved. There's always new products to develop, old products to update, and production systems to optimize. You cannot do everything now, you have to make choices. That's called prioritization. Prioritization is half science, half art, and half voodoo. Because making choices for the future always includes unknowns, we often resort to more and more analysis, wasting precious time and causing paralysis in the pipeline. Prioritization under uncertainty is difficult, but it has to be done. Otherwise everything is started, but nothing gets finished. But guess who else needs to prioritize? Doctors and nurses, like in hospitals. And their prioritization causes some people to survive and some to die. And they often need to make the decisions in seconds or minutes, not days, weeks or quarters. So how do doctors prioritize patients? And what could we in enterprises learn from them? Let's think it through. I'm even giving you a free practical tool at the end of this video that might help you in your actual real life. This is bad business. Picture this. You are swimming when a shark attacks you. Luckily, it's just a baby shark and you get out of the water with just a small part of your arm missing. You get to the local ER and ask to see the doctor. There's only 3 other persons in the waiting room, so you think you are getting through quite fast. But no. Hours pass and you are still waiting as other patients come through the door. Some end up waiting, but others are getting straight to the doctor. What is this? I came here first. You grumble to the nurses. Well, that's just prioritization. Or actually, hospitals call it triage for some probably French reason. The purpose of an emergency room is not to satisfy everybody, but to save as many lives and limbs as possible. That's why they don't operate on a first-come, first-served basis, like, say, a fast food restaurant. Instead, under normal circumstances, patients are treated based on urgency. There are many different triage systems used in different countries, but they all use the urgency of the patient's condition as the basis. Urgency basically means how soon a person would die or suffer permanent damage if left untreated. A person who is not breathing is normally treated before a person with a runny nose. Normally. The ultimate goal or mission of an ER is to save as many lives and limbs as possible. So what happens when there's a mass casualty event and suddenly more people are coming in than the doctors could ever save? Say, the sharks have organized themselves and attacked everybody on the beach. And this time they are fully grown sharks. People flood the emergency room and more are coming in every minute. Dispatching patients to nearby hospitals is not an option, since also they are overcrowded. Whatever we do, some will die. In this situation, treating patients purely based on urgency no longer maximizes the number of lives saved. In fact, many mass casualty triage systems propose leaving those who will perish imminently where they fell and focusing on those who have a better chance. Already in med school, the soon-to-be doctors are taught to treat patients based on who can benefit from it the most. Take our waiting room. The most urgent patient, the one with a hole in his head, would only see his survival odds rise from, say, 10 to 20%, even with immediate treatment. That's a 10 percentage point benefit. Let's call this clinical effectiveness, since the word clinical makes me sound like I would know something about medicine. Clinical. Now, the patient with a spinal fracture is less urgent, but if treated, his survival odds go from, say, 50% to 80%. That's a 30 percentage point benefit. The patient complaining about his headache has a low clinical effectiveness since he probably will survive regardless of if he's treated or not. So, who do you treat first? Under normal circumstances, maybe both the spine and the head patient. But remember, the waiting room is infinite. So let's consider both factors together. Multiply clinical effectiveness by urgency. Multiplying works because if either urgency or benefit is near zero, the priority should also be near zero. But there's one more factor. Treating the spinal fracture takes hours of specialist work, tons of materials and gallons of blood. The head wound takes a third of those resources, meaning we can treat 3 similar head cases for the cost of one spine case. By treating the head wound patient first, we get double the value from the same resources. So the formula is simple. Priority equals effectiveness times urgency divided by the required resources. I'm sure that most doctors are not doing any actual math, but that's the logic. Maximizing lives saved means understanding that everything is relative. It's not just about who's worst off, it's about what we can achieve with what we have. Sure, we could save just about anybody, but what about all the others? Every business, every company, and every enterprise is having a constant mass casualty incident in their development portfolio. There are always more options that could be done than can be done. The waiting room is always full of ideas, and more are coming in as we speak. If we try to treat them all at the same time, we end up just running around from patient to patient, and most would eventually die. Just as with our hospital case, the best outcome requires balancing multiple factors. Prioritizing solely by which idea would make us the most money, which costs the least, or which is the most urgent are all bad ideas. You need to weigh the upsides against the downsides. How many pounds do we get for every buck we put in? In our everyday lives, we are calculating multi-factor functions all the time. When choosing which box of cereal you'll buy, you might consider expected quality, taste, nutritional content, package size, and compare it all to the cost of the product. If I chose this cheaper brand, maybe I can buy also those expensive strawberries. And here's the thing about time and knowledge that people tend to forget in an office. We just cannot see into the future. How much a new product would increase revenues or how much a complex project will ultimately cost is just guesswork until it is done. In my opinion, wasting time is just wasting time. But hey, I'm just a laid-off enterprise coach. What do I know? Spending more time than absolutely necessary analyzing and prioritizing is time out of actually getting any of the ideas to become real. When you get to the emergency room, how long do you think they use to analyze your condition before deciding a priority? Probably not more than a minute. And they are dealing with human lives, not some cost savings, brand value, or shareholder profits. And do the doctors always get the priorities right from the start? Probably not. And neither should we think of our portfolio priorities as static. Your position in the queue changes if and when your condition or the knowledge of your condition changes. And the same should apply to our initiatives. The initial priority is always based on imperfect information, and that's fine. Otherwise, all the resources would go to just analyzing and prioritizing, and nobody would actually get treated. So, just like hospitals, corporations need a fast way to decide and redecide their priorities. Luckily, there's about a million methods and tools, but unfortunately many of them are and making prioritization any more complex than necessary is a waste of time at best and misleading at worst. So, Start by gathering the minimum number of people who collectively holds the maximum understanding of both the ideas and the surrounding realities. It can be 3 people, but I've done this with around 100. The only output we want is the relative order of our projects, so that we know which to focus on first. Take a board and draw 2 axes. One for all the upsides, I'll call it benefits, including like revenues, risk reduction, cost savings, and everything that makes you feel warm and fuzzy. And one for all the downsides, which I call just effort, including those pesky costs, complexities, execution risks, and so on. Then take turns. The first person picks an initiative and places it somewhere on the board. Then the next person picks another one and places it relative to the first. Maybe the market expansion to Antarctica has roughly the same expected benefits as launching a new beverage flavor, but it will take about double the time and money. You don't need any real figures, just your best guess like a doctor. But unlike a doctor, maybe justify your reasoning a little so the others can push back. Of course, if you have some fancy calculations, you can mention them here to impress the others. Anyone can also use their turn to move an already placed initiative if they disagree. Continue until time runs out, everyone is happy, or a physical fight breaks out. Then the priority order is simply read from the distance of each initiative to the top left corner of the board. Making it any more complex than this is a waste of time. If you can think of how to make it any simpler, please share. Feel free to try this, but I must warn you, there's plenty of nuance that a short video cannot cover, so you might need a professional facilitator. Or then just give me a call. Whatever you do, don't let the French fool you. Medical triage is the same as prioritization, and there's something to learn from it. The only difference is that in triage the stakes are higher and the need for speed is more visible, but the same principles apply to both. But what do you think? How are you prioritizing your projects or patients? Are you a medical professional thinking I got everything wrong? Let me know in the comments. And since you are still here, remember to click that thumb button and subscribe to this channel. Thank you. You can also share this video wherever and to whomever. It's free. Best regards, bad business.